The town hall rally began predictably enough. 28-year-old Lebanese-Australian woman, Taylor, was among those calling for the detention of Israel's visiting president.
We were all, I guess, singing, chanting, listening to the speakers that were there, listening to what they had to say. And yeah, it was all very calm, all very joyful, as most of these protests that I've been to are.
Former Australian of the Year, Grace Tame, led one chant.
From Gadigal to Gaza, globalise the Intifada!
But shortly after 7 p.m, the mood shifted. After 7:30, it got ugly. Protesters testing police lines, police pushing back, and worse. Police had been granted extra powers against protesters for the president's visit. The New South Wales Police Commissioner says his officers were provoked.
The police responsibility is to keep the community safe and prevent crime. That is what they did last night professionally. It was a significant, aggressive and volatile crowd they were faced by. They did a fantastic job to hold that line.
The crowd was testing police. Some protesters were determined to march in defiance of police and protest organisers. Police had suggested protesters gather at Hyde Park and march to Belmore Park near Central Station. But protest organisers went ahead with plans to gather at Town Hall. They wanted to march to New South Wales Parliament House, but were refused. Police confined the protests to a single city block, setting up flashpoints along George Street when protesters tried to break out.
Get back! Hey! Hey!
Even if police were enforcing the restrictions, some of yesterday's acts seem extreme. This footage was taken on the George Street light rail line just after 8 p.m. The protester is punched 18 times.
I see a person on the ground on the tracks with their arms pinned and at least two police with them, and I see a policeman, quite astonishingly kidney punching repeatedly this person on the ground. I shouted at the cop. It was very painful to see. You could see that it was a dangerous situation.
Police say this is 28-year-old Jace Turner, who has been charged and is accused of biting a police officer.
Police were repeatedly confronted. People were attempting to breach police lines. Should be remembered, 10 people have been arrested for assaulting New South Wales police officers. And at the end of the day, New South Wales police are not punching bags.
The violence is coming from the police. It's true, we didn't disperse when we were told to, but there were tens of thousands of people there, and a lot of people were angered by the Premier's decision that we were not going to be allowed to march in the way that we normally have, just on the street, peacefully up to the Parliament.
Shortly after 8 p.m, police began forcing the crowd away from Town Hall. Taylor says she was sprayed with tear gas in front of the building.
I remember just feeling like I couldn't intake breath, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't see, I couldn't speak.
As police tried to move the crowd on, they confronted a group of men mid-prayer.
I was going to go join the people praying, and I could see the police moving in, and that's when I started recording because I felt like something was going to happen. And, lo and behold, like I said, they removed the stewards out the way, and you could see they were pushing women on the floor, they were dragging men across the floor, but what we saw was people practicing their religion, not breaking the law, and state-level violence used on a community. And I think it's really shook, not just me, but it shook people all around this country.
Taylor was among the protesters chased away from Town Hall.
Stop walking now!
Oh my God. I just remember a lot of people sort of turning to me and going, is this actually happening? And me turning to people and saying, is this real? Like, is this happening? Like, we're all trying to sort of disperse, and being chased was really scary.
Questions about the protest resonated across politics today, including in federal parliament.
Your invitation has fundamentally undermined unity and social cohesion in this country. Will you condemn this police violence and at the very least send President Herzog home?
President Herzog is visiting Australia at the invitation of the Governor-General as her equivalent head of state. The Australian government supports the invitation, and I'll be meeting with him later today and with victims of with families of the 15 innocent victims whose lives were tragically cut short on the 14th of December. That is what this visit is about. And I would say to everyone in this chamber and outside, as I have said repeatedly, we need to turn the temperature down in this country. We need to turn it right down.
7:30's political editor Jacob Grieber joins me now. Jacob, can you just start by describing what was going on in the chamber just after that question, just the circumstances of that exchange?
Yes, so that was really midway through question time. The Greens MP got up and asked that question that we saw there. She was interrupted fairly quickly by some angry voices on the coalition side, people calling out words like disgrace. Really the thing that sparked that was the genocide point, and obviously the fact that she was questioning the visit at all was seen as quite an antagonistic thing for her to do. The Speaker was forced to intervene and try and calm the room. There was one of the members had to withdraw a comment about sticking it up to her in a fairly rough sort of way. So it was very, very uncomfortable, very tense and ugly from the outset. And you could see the Prime Minister sort of trying to, as he said, lower the temperature, and that was the nature of his answer. He was given the ability to go beyond the 3 minutes that you normally get in question time to respond, and so it was the big moment of the day, I think.
Now, the Prime Minister has not been comfortable in the politics since the response, the politics of the response to the Bondi attack. His tone did sound more assured, more confident in what he was saying today. What do you see in that? Is it just his response to what we saw last night? What was going on?
He was really seeking to make the point that the President of Israel is here for a particular community who've suffered a great loss. And that is a community, in his words, that deserves to have that recognised. That is the reason why he's in the country, making these visits. He's essentially conducting pastoral care, I think you might say. And what the Prime Minister's point was, really at the top of that, was this is not like a game of football where you pick a side and then you blindly follow that side. He calls for nuance. He gave a very detailed explanation of his own government's approach, the recognition of a Palestinian state being the pathway he would prefer. The alternate world is one where, as he put it, Israel continues to be the powerful state that it is, and the Palestinians continue to live really as an oppressed people, was the wording he used. So he's trying to balance both concerns that are being really made real by this visit, and we've seen it viscerally. And I think the other point he was making was that it was important that people have the right to protest, but He wasn't really buying into the idea that the police were excessive. He said the scenes were devastating and that would have left many people very uncomfortable. We just saw a whole series of those scenes. He will leave it for the police to explain that, but he did point out that what they were trying to do was very sensible, and that the police were seeking separation between the protesters and the president. I think the big message from him, though, is he does not resile from his support for Herzog's visit to Australia this week. Indeed, they're having dinner right now as we speak in Kirribilli.
And what about the rest of the visit? Obviously, that message there that he was trying to get across today about the temperature being turned down. What happens for the rest of President Herzog's visit over the next 48 hours?
Well, he's due to visit Canberra and Melbourne, and we expect that he will be appearing at some point in Parliament. There's a lot of security, as you would expect, about the visit. He's also, it is my understanding, due to visit at some point the Governor-General or meet with the Governor-General, and there will presumably be other people that he meets in Parliament. He's not going to be in the chamber. He's not going to be given that kind of an honour, and I think that's part of keeping the temperature down, as the Prime Minister would like. So it will be a parliamentary visit, but I would expect it to be quite low-key in that sense. And unfortunately, I'm sure there will be people who will see this as an opportunity to make the point they want to make, and that will no doubt be part of the next 2 days as well.
Let me pivot, Jacob, because of course we did expect today to be talking maybe more about the challenge at the top of the Liberal Party. What have you heard from the challengers today? Are they breaking ranks? Can you see them in the corridors?
You certainly can see them in the corridors. There's a sort of quiet in the building, you'd have to say, this afternoon, which, funnily enough, often precedes big change. People kind of go into their bunkers, get their positions straight. There's plenty of speculation tonight that Angus Taylor will indeed tomorrow resign from the shadow front bench. He needs to do that so that he can openly campaign and lobby his party room colleagues for their vote. It's my understanding that that probably will happen tomorrow. The window for a leadership change this week really opens tomorrow morning. It's a 24, 48-hour window, if you like. Most of the people that will make this decision are in the building the next few days. Friday shapes up as an obvious day. There's a whole lot of manoeuvring going on with the moderates wanting, I guess you'd call them the rebels against Susan Lee, to put their name to a petition so that they can be smoked out, I guess. And in the view of the moderates, they would then be seen as tearing down the first female leader of the party of Menzies. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll wait and see, but the next 24 hours are likely to be pretty willing, is my mail. Whether it's chaotic or organised, the players themselves can't tell you that. It looks like an organised rabble, if there is such a thing.
All right, Jacob, we expect to hear from you tomorrow. Keep your eye on the smoke. Speak to you tomorrow.
Take care.